Well, I am so excited. And I really, I hope you'll be excited with me. Some of you are very new to Beth Yeshua. Some of you are new to the Messianic movement. Some of you I just don't know that well, just because. And some of you, though, have been with me since I got here. So especially for you that have been here for 15 years, going on 16, I just hope you can really appreciate what God did and what he's doing with this ragtag group of nobodies, and the nobody leader. We never had any movers and shakers here. We've only requested the Lord to be here. And man, I'll get into it and you'll see what I mean. Let's look at the Torah portion. Jason was kind enough with his family to read 2 verses in Leviticus 19, the first 2. I'm just going to put in a little bit more context and read 4, okay? This is our Torah Parsha. Leviticus 19, 1 through 4, and if you know anything about Leviticus 19, it's just laws for everyday life. It's just God is teaching us how we should conduct ourselves as members of the kingdom. It's just that simple. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the entire community of Israel. That includes who? Just the Hebrews? No. Who left Egypt? A mixed multitude. Jews and Gentiles. So guess what? Nothing's changed. If you are a Christian, you're grafted into the nation of Israel. That's just the way it is. You might not realize it. You might not realize it. And you're hearing things for the first time, you're like, Rabbi, I've been going to church for 40 years. This is weird. This is just biblical truth, guys. I know it's hard, When you've been playing golf, I don't play golf, my son plays golf. When you've been playing golf for 40 years and you swing a certain way and a pro comes along and goes, listen, I need to tweak your swing. How hard is it to change that when you've been doing something for 40 years? That doesn't mean the change isn't right. Just let go of tradition. Just let go and just read the word and let the word stand for itself. This stuff that we're doing is happening all over the world because cat's out of the bag. We're on the information highway. We have this information at our fingertips. We know about church history. We know about revised church history. We know about these things that have passed now. You can't avoid it. Nobody can say, I didn't know. Now we know. Now it's a matter of what you want to embrace, and that is your business. It is not mine. It is not mine. I won't make it my business because it's between you and the Lord. And everybody has a different theology here, me included. And I'm not telling you that my theology should become your theology. In fact, I've told you on thousands of occasions, I'd rather my theology not become your theology. That's why I don't give my opinion. Read the scripture, get with the Holy Spirit, and take it from there. You people, maybe that's why Joshua didn't read that. He was being politically correct. You people, that's the Jew and the Gentile, ought to be holy because I don't know your God, I'm holy. Well, you ain't going to hear this preached in the New Wave Aftershave Church tomorrow. They're going to sing about how Jesus is my friend and take the wheel and all is well. But I'm telling you, you check the New Testament, all Peter did was repeat this. Every one of you, he's making it sure that everybody's included in this. Every one of you is to revere his father and mother, and you are to keep my Shabbats. I am Adonai your God. Do not turn to idols, and do not cast metal gods for yourself. I am Adonai your God. Chapter 19, you're going to hear that over and over again. Basically, the basis of all holiness is found in the words, I, Adonai your God, am holy. So why should I be holy? Because God would say, I am. Because I am. You see, it's kind of like father, like son. You want to be the chip off the old block, right? And Yeshua was the only begotten son of the Father. Now, do you think Yeshua could say, I am holy? Do you think he can go before the Father and say, I was holy? Guys, if he wasn't holy, that means he sinned. If he sinned, we're not saved. So what I'm saying is, like Father, like Son, like us. He didn't come just to die and get us off the hook. It wasn't like, look, I'm going to pay the price, and you guys have at it. Don't you worry about it. I got you covered. I got your back. If anything happens, I got your back. Yes, he does have your back and your front and your sides. So when you fall short of the glory, you could repent, go before the Father, ask for forgiveness. And when the Father says, why should I forgive you? Then you go, Yeshua, help me out. And then he plays your advocate. But don't you think you're just going to live a life of sin and abuse grace. You can't abuse that sacrifice. That was God's only Son. I mean, he left his abode and lowered himself, lower than the angels, humbled himself, even unto death on a cross like a common criminal, naked. He was not covered with a loincloth. They crucified naked. You can't abuse that, can you? No. So the bottom line is the Bible is telling us that human holiness is the imitation of God. We're called to be imitators, not impersonators. Is it easy to be holy all the time? No. Does that mean we shouldn't strive for it? I don't know. Let's look at the first two verses. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the entire community of Israel, tell them, you people are to be holy, because when you have a little child, I mean, today it's different. I watch people, I watch people. I don't say anything because it's not my business unless somebody invites me. But man, there is way too much discussion with you and your kids. And they are ruling you, and it's sick. I've never seen anything like it. Am I alone in this? Look, I know it's hard to be a parent. Don't get me wrong. My kids are not perfect. But I'll tell you something. We have never played timeout. We have played knockout, and it works beautifully. It's the gift that keeps giving. Ask them. You work too hard. You sacrifice too much. You pray too much for them. That's all right. So, am I not reading the Bible? I mean, look, God says you should be holy. How come? Because I am. Hey, go back to bed. How come? Because I said, I'm your father. That's why. Dad, do I have to? I'm sorry. Let me introduce myself. You guys are playing too many games with your kids. You want to be their friend. You want to wear the same clothes. See, there's no generation gap anymore. There used to be, we heard different music. We had different clothes. Now we shop at the same place. We listen to the same music. So in the car, just partying with our kids. And then when you try to tell them to do something, they're like, hey, who are you? You're my buddy. I'm friendly to my children. Very friendly. And I love them like crazy. But believe me, they know when they done stepped over the line. I ain't got time for that. Got time for discussions. I'm not going to dress up like Barney and explain to them, I love you. I got no time for that. I got no time. Okay, next verse, which is a great intro for the next verse 3. I just took half of it, and we'll do the other half in a minute. There's so much meat in these 4 verses that I can't even, we can't get too far into Leviticus 19. Every one of you, who does that include? Okay, is to revere his father. Guess what? Father comes first. Father's the high priest. Get it down. See, on TV, it's always, hey, mom, hey, mom, hey, mom. How come it's never, hey, dad? Because there's no dads. Revere his father and his mother. Let's look up that word, revere. Yareh, it means to fear, to honor, and to respect. What? Yes. To fear, to honor, and to respect. When Yareh, revere, when it's used in relation to the Lord, when it's used in relation, it means to be in awe, to bow down, and to worship. When it's used in relation to parents, it means to regard with high respect, tinged with awe. Tinged is a word that means with a little awe. Not all awe. When it comes to God, it's all awe. When it comes to parents, it's a little awe. Does your kids hold you in some awe? Shane is not here. I'll tell you a story. Shane is very quiet. People might think she's snooty. She's just very, very quiet. She's very introspective, and I'll tell you, she's going to be going to college, and we will miss her because in 18 years, I have never had to discipline her. Not a day, and I am not lying. She has been unbelievable. She's like everything you want a wife to be without the argument. Ugh. I know, your marriage is perfect, right? Golly jeepers. Ushers, get her out, whoever she is. Just get her out. I don't care. It's on here. When she was 16, Bernadette wanted to do something special for her because, she doesn't have a plethora of friends. She stays to herself. And so we decided to take her to New York. She loves New York. And we went to get the car from the parking lot. And we were only there one night. And I was supposed to pick up the car at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was 1 minute after 10. And the garage attendant wanted to charge us another $125 for 1 minute. And I said to him, can't you have any grace at all? It's timestamped 1 minute after 10. But no. And he got pretty irate. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get into a fist fight. And I'm old and I have 2 dislocations. I look like I could beat the crap out of people, but believe me, Shana could beat the crap out of me. I have 2 dislocated shoulders. So I'm like, this is little Shana out of nowhere got between me and this really rough young guy, put her finger in his face and says, don't you dare talk to my father like that. I was like, what's going on? She said, my father is a good man. He goes to dark places and helps unfortunate people. Don't you dare talk to him like that. I was like, hit me. I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. Go ahead, take a shot. I was like, Shay, first of all, I never knew you could talk. Ellie, don't you tell her I'm talking about her. Anyway, it was a beautiful thing. It was an incredibly beautiful thing for me. I did not always revere my parents. My dad died when I was a little boy, and I did not give him the respect he deserved. If he was alive today and he came back with 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star for bravery, he would be the ultimate PTSD. He saw thousands and thousands of kills. He helped release my people from the Holocaust. He was a ranger. He was an incredible guy. Didn't have any friends. I was his friend. I was his everything. He took so much pride in me. He had 3 daughters and me. I was the last. I did not show him the respect that he deserved. Not even close. My mom, I was a partier. I would go out and come home the next morning at 10, and my mom would be crying, and I'd be like, Mom, I'm really tired. Not now. She was happy I was home. She didn't give me a hard time, but, sleepless nights. When I got saved, when I met the Lord, and when I was 30, the first vow I made was I will never, ever cause my mother 1 day of pain the rest of my life. And I did not. I kept that vow, but I can't do anything about the first 30 years. So I did not fulfill this command. We took a trip to Neve Michael like I do every year. Haver and I are best friends. This ministry is my ministry. Neve Michael is my place. And I take people there every year to expose them to it. And this year was no different. The story with Neve Michael, real quick, is that 15 years ago, I was praying very diligently for a children's village in Israel that we could support. children that were hurt for whatever reason. And I prayed for about a year. About a year. And there were just a few people in our congregation, and you know, a lot of Christians aren't aware how Messianic rabbis are treated. They're just not, so I don't want to really tell them because it's negative. And you know, you want to be up. But we are treated by the Jewish community horrifically. The Jewish community in their eyes think that I'm performing a spiritual Holocaust. So they will spit on me, they will have nothing to do with me. The Christian community, not as bad, but they feel like I'm somewhat of a legalist and I'm somewhat lost because I worship on Saturday. But they will be more embracing because I believe in Jesus. But either way, I'm not, no way. And not me personally, just kind of me personally. A little bit, a little bit. Look, I've loved making for 15 years, but you guys gotta come be more global. You can't have this mentality that the South will rise again. The Yeshua will rise again. You know what I'm saying? He's coming back. It's kind of embracing, but it's not. It's not. It's really not. It's not as hospitable as you think. You have to almost be from here. Otherwise, you'll never be from here. And that's unkosher, especially for Christians. I just find it like, come on, you got to be kidding me, man. Stop being a Southern Christian and a black Christian and a Chinese Christian. What's wrong with you? It's like, are you born again or not? So these nice Christian people like, Rabbi, you've got to meet the rabbi in town, the traditional rabbi. And I'm thinking, oh, man, you don't understand. But I didn't want to tell them because they're, see, a Jewish rabbi will sit with you all day long. And if you want to support Israel, they'll take a check. Sure. They'll sit with you and no problem, right? Me? No. But I didn't want to burst their bubble. So they kept hocking me. Hocking is a Jewish term. It's a Yiddish term, meaning they just kept bothering me. So I was like, I'm just going to call because to say I did what they required. So I called them. And I said, hello, Rabbi Rubenstein. He's now back, I hear. He's split, right? He's back. I said, Rubenstein, why are you saying that? Because it's true. Because I'm just a man of truth and genuine. I'm not hiding nothing. Nothing to hide. I said, this is Greg Hershberg. And he says, I know who you are. I said, Rabbi, he says, don't call me Rabbi. Because it's almost like, you're not a Jew anymore. I was like, okay, Aaron. I said, I was told that, it'd be a good idea for us to get together. And he said, and I'm telling you verbatim, he said, do you understand the risk I would be taking to be seen with you? And I said, yes, I do, actually. Yes. And there's 6,200 pages of Talmud, which the rabbis study, more than the very word. And I know a little Talmud. And the Lord quickened me. And I said, you know what? The rabbis of old taught that misunderstanding leads to all kinds of evil. Could it be possible that you misunderstand who I am? He said, I'll give you 10 minutes. There was a little Italian place downtown. I went downtown. I was very nervous. It was Hanukkah. I brought a gift. We talked 3.5 hours. And he kept on saying, I never knew. I said, yeah, you were circumcised on the 8th day, right? I have my papers signed by the rabbi. I was circumcised on the 8th day. You were bar mitzvah in the 13th year? So was I. My kid's circumcised on the 8th day. Bar mitzvah in the 13th year. You fast on Yom Kippur? So do I. You on a Shabbat every Friday night? So do I. I said, you know what separates us? I believe in the hope of Israel. That it's come. And you're waiting. And that's what differentiates us. And in fact, I'm helping Gentiles see their ingraftedness. And I've got Gentile people seeing the beauty of Shabbat and honoring it. He's like, I never knew. I said, I know. That's why we're here. And so at the end, I said, look, happy Hanukkah. I brought you a gift. And, to be perfectly frank, he was like, I have a gift for you too. But the Holy Spirit says, no, but this is going to be great. And I was like, okay. So he goes out to his car. And he comes back with a little vial about this big. And I said, oh, thank you. I said, what is it? And he said, it's vinegar. I'm somewhat of a chef. And I make vinegar, and I sell it. And whatever proceeds come from the sale, I send to a place called Neve Michael. This is true. I just want you to hear it, because some of you don't even know the story. You know me 15 years. And I said, what is Neve Michael? He said, it's a children's village in Pardes Hana. They house, at that time, maybe there was 100 kids that are horrifically abused. I'm weeping. Now, my friend Bill Foster is watching. Bill Foster was the vice president of all the conservative synagogues in the world. Every rabbi knows him. Every cantor knows him. When any synagogue is looking for a rabbi to cantor, they call him, honestly. And he networks it and makes it happen. There's conservative, there's reformed, and there's orthodox. And then there's the other white meat. So he's watching, and he knows this. The Jewish Theological Seminary, JTS, they train you not to be emotional. You just don't, you don't cry. They're very cerebral. They're very brilliant. A lot of these guys are very brilliant, very cerebral. And so I'm weeping, and he's uncomfortable, visibly. I don't notice this. It takes me like 5 minutes to come to. So he's like, almost like upset. He's like, what are you crying about? And I said, I've been praying for about a year for a children's village I could support. He goes, look, let me stop you right there. He said, I'm conservative. They won't let me daven, meaning they won't let me conduct services in their synagogue because they're Orthodox. They won't even talk to you. And I said, look, I just, no offense, but I think God's bigger than that. And if you don't mind, could I have the number? So he gave me the number. Immediately when I got home, hello, I said, is this Hava Levine? Yes. I said, my name is Greg Hershberg. I'm calling from Georgia. I'm a Messianic rabbi. Please don't hang up the phone. And that's where it went. And I said, give me a shot. I'm not manipulative. I'm not going to talk to you about Isaiah 53. I'm not going to push it on you. The Lord said, show her, Yeshua. We are best friends. I'm not just really good friends. She considers me her best friend. She says when she's struggling, she told the group, when she's struggling or she's going through it, she calls me. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, I'm not bragging, okay? If you think I'm bragging, you're new. You don't know me. I am bragging on what God can do. I couldn't pull that off. I have no ability to do anything. Apart from God, I could do nothing. Nothing. This is, when I tell you these stories, it's about glorifying God, not me. If Bernadette was here, she would tell you. She knows me. I know you. We're just us. You know what I'm saying? So could you kill those lights? I just want to show you a couple of pictures. Anybody? That's going to be tough to see. I don't know. I apologize. The things went out. Could I see a couple of pictures? Okay, so that's hard to see. That's in the center. This is a huge complex if you've been there. There's crisis centers, there's homes, there's a synagogue, there's a school. It's a huge place. People from all over the world are coming there, using it as a model. People from Jordan and elsewhere to build a facility just like it. Because I'm telling you, there's no place like it. There's no place like that I've ever seen. I've been all over the world. Bill Foster put this together. It says the neshama, that's Hebrew for souls, of the angels are forever with us. Angels, you'll see. Let's go to the next picture. He built this wall, this beautiful wall. You got the next picture? Thank you. He built this wall, and there's a big prayer center in the center of the whole complex where the kids go in prayer, like kind of our wall, all right? A prayer wall, a meditation area, a place to connect with God. Then the next picture, You can't make that any... Can you? No? That's it? No. Okay. So you can't see that, neither can I, which is great. Glad we put that up there. Next time we'll test it. Listen, they called me and they wanted to put up a plaque in my honor. It's under the word guardian. They call me a guardian of Neve and Chayil. I promise you, I beg them not to. You can call Bill, call him at Foster Foundation, and call Hava. I begged them. I said, I'm not interested. I don't want it. And he's like, but everybody has their name. It's not a gift. You know, when people give something, they want recognition. That's not Yeshua. But let me tell you what happened. Hava called me and said, I want to put your parents' names on the plaque. And then I realized I finally get to fulfill the Fifth Commandment. See, because in your Bible, because your Bible is written by Jews in a Jewish place about a Jewish people, when it says Simon Bar Jonah, that's son of Jonah. See, the parents' righteousness doesn't visit the children. The children's righteousness visit the parents. The parents' righteousness don't honor the children. The children's righteousness honor the parents. If my father was alive and he was here, he would jump up and scream, that's my boy. I promise you, my mother would be in tears knowing that her name is in Israel. So it's Getzel, my Hebrew name, Ben Meyer, my father's name, which means to illuminate and bring light. Ben Malka, son of Malka, that's my mother's name, which means queen. And they wrote some nice things. A man passionate about his many missions, but none more important than... Can anybody read that? Then what? His belief. Yeah, what's the rest say? That all children deserve to be loved. As a world without children is a world without hope. And then it says some nice things. And anyway, so the whole point is, kids, your parents won't be around forever. And parents, you have to teach them. Because if they don't revere you, they won't revere God. If they don't revere what they do see, they will not revere what they don't see. And I guarantee you that. Guarantee. So that honors my parents' memory. And that's why I went with it. Oh, and that nice Jack, 101 years old, we've been friends for 15 years. He would personally call people all over the United States and try to get them to donate. And that's his plaque, because he's an angel. He's not with us anymore. And then I'm a guardian. Can you imagine? From 15 years ago when a rabbi said, they won't even talk to you. And I heard God say, call her. With God, the people that would spit on me put a plaque up in the middle of Israel. Go figure. Okay, let's continue on. Can you throw those lights up? Let's get to the second half of verse 19:3, okay? It says, you are to keep my Shabbats, I am Adonai your God. Okay? Now we're talking about the fourth commandment. Somehow in Christian circles, God brought 9 forward. I don't know how they determined that. They say Sunday is the Lord's day. Isaiah says Shabbat is the Lord's day. Nowhere in the Bible are you going to find that Sunday is the Lord's day. First of all, you won't even find the word Sunday because it's named after the worship of the sun. And if you do any history, if you go home and just consult Rabbi Google and just look at how the Shabbat was changed, you'll see. Revised church doctrine, it was just changed. I'm not knocking the Catholic Church, but they changed it, they put it down in law. So for you who are Protestant and you like to make fun of Catholics, you are following Catholic doctrine. And there's no way around it, buddy. Listen, you're not saved by honoring Shabbat, but Shabbat has not changed, nor has God's commandments. I'm sorry. You're in the kingdom, but you are dead wrong on this one. And I'll sit with you for hours and show you. It's no problem. But you're wrong. We can't have different days. How can we be one and have different days? Is God a schizophrenic? I don't think so. Look what the word keep. Shamar, to observe, to guard, to give heed, to pay very careful attention to be very conscious and very serious about this. Look, this goes back to before the law. This is Genesis 2, guys. Look, I'm going to give you 2 verses. Now, if you want to know more about Shabbat, I've done a ton of teaching. Just go to Getzel.com, look up Shabbat. There's a gazillion teachings on it, hours. Go to Messianic Judaism 101, hours. I don't want to do that here. But I'm going to show you something that I think is really neat. Because, you get progressive revelation the more time you spend with the Lord. It says in the beginning, it says, on the 7th day, God was finished with his work, which he had made. So he rested on the 7th day from all his work, which he had made. God blessed the 7th day and separated it as holy. Because on that day, God rested from all his work, which he had created, so that it itself could produce. The word holy, whether it's in the Hebrew or the Greek, means to be separate and distinct and special. If every day was Shabbat, you go, I worship God every day. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're busy and God understands that. You're at work. You're running the kids around. You got to run out of the house. He understands. But he wanted one day. He's like, I'm going to make this day special. Yes. See, if you don't, when you go to a black tie affair, you look different because it's special. You're wearing a tuxedo. You don't wear a tuxedo every day. Your anniversary, a birthday, whatever. Martin Luther King Day, they're special days. They're distinct. You can't celebrate. Oh, Rabbi, we celebrate our marriage vows every day. I do. Bernadette, I love her every day. Every day. Shabbat is different. It's special. A different tablecloth gets on the table. A different dinner is had. Prayers are said. We shut down, man. We desist and know he is God. Shabbat's beautiful. It's special. Look, it wasn't a rest of weariness. It's not like God's like, I'm exhausted from creating. No, it was not that kind of a rest, guys. It was a rest of satisfaction and completion. God was like, look what I did in 6 days. Look at what I did. The universe, the stellar heavens, the atmospheric heavens, the heaven of heavens, Everest, shh, Grand Canyon, shh. I mean, it was like, look what I've done. I am the creator of the universe. And then God blesses it. He blesses it. He calls it blessed and separates it. Why did he make it so special? One is, when you observe it, you are declaring that God is the creator of the universe. Yeah. You are putting your finger right in Satan's eye and says, you are a created being. Right. You couldn't handle being number 2. So you got kicked out of the heavens. Now you are number 2. Yes. 2, the Lord kept it himself. The Lord kept Shabbat. I mean, what is wrong with you? And 3, and maybe this will touch your heart, God longs to spend uninterrupted quality time with his children. And he knows you're busy. He knows you're busy at work. You might be able to pray with an employee or a patient, but you can't sit in his presence for 24/7, guys. You can't. You got errands, you got kids, you got things going on. We're running like crazy in our house. But Shabbat, no running. We prepare for it. We prepare for it. The kids clean the house. Everything's done. Bernadette puts together dinner. And when that sun goes down, and it doesn't have to be on the moment, but when it goes down, man, and Lily lights those candles and ushers in the Spirit of God. And we bless the boys and bless the girls, and we sing V'shamaru together. And we bless the bread and the wine. And we bless Bern, and Bern blesses me. Oh, God, it's heaven. I promise you, it will change your family's dynamic. I promise you. You tell me if it doesn't, and I'll stop preaching it. But let me give you a word of caution, because some of you Gentiles are nuts. You're lunatics. You have this such a desire to be Jewish that this identity becomes your idolatry, and you blow it. Mark 2:27-28. He said to them, that's Yeshua, Shabbat was made for mankind, not mankind for Shabbat. Some of you are walking in legalism. It's not that Shabbat's a problem. It's the way you're celebrating the Shabbat that's the problem. Shabbat's not, none of the commands. The Son of Man is Lord of even the Shabbat. You know where this came up? Because they were hungry and they took some grain, and the religious leaders, once again, said, "Do you know your people? These are the same morons who, when a boy was born blind and he was healed on the Shabbat, these morons were attacking him, his mother, and then went after Yeshua the healer." Are you out of your mind? I know some people, they won't do anything on Shabbat. Nothing. You think that's what Shabbat's about? I can't go for a run because it's Shabbat. Oh my. Yeshua isn't challenging the Sabbath, but the Pharisees' interpretation of the Sabbath. Now, you could have your own interpretation. I'm not going to change that. I'm just trying to help you. And I'm trying to help you with your kids so they don't run away from God. I'm just trying to help you. If you don't want the help, just say, "I disagree." It's okay, because you're going to make the call, and I want you to make the call. I want you to be responsible for the spiritual direction of your family. But with that being said, Yeshua reminds the Pharisees that Sabbath is a gift. I'm a Jew, man. I didn't just go into a phone booth and come out with payouts and a long beard and go, "Look at me, super Jew." Trust me, man. It's a gift from God for man's benefit, not for his bondage. It's a time to enjoy. What a better time than to heal or bless. It's a time to glorify God and bless your neighbor and be spiritually uplifted. It's a time to kick back and praise the Lord and enjoy undivided time within his presence. It's not a time for you to look at your kids and go, don't talk, it's Shabbat. I'm saying a prayer. You're an idiot. They're going to run away from God. That's not, do you want God, does God talk that way to you? The Shabbat should be joy and fun, not bondage. It's a gift. All good gifts come from the Father of lights. Would the Lord give a good gift and then put his foot on your neck? No. Now, do we know that Yeshua kept the Shabbat? Of course. First of all, here's a news flash. If he didn't, then he sinned. Because it's the fourth commandment. We know he kept it because in Luke 4 it says, "And Yeshua went into the temple at Nazareth on Shabbat," which was his custom, "and read from the Torah." Well, Jesus did it, but it's not good enough for me. Whatever. I'm tired of arguing. I'm done. Do whatever you want. You're going to do it anyway. But people claim that Paul didn't. Even religious Jews. I know religious Orthodox rabbis who will say to me, "Rabbi, I see that Jesus was incredibly Torah observant. Maybe one of the more Torah observant Jews that ever lived. But this Paul guy, he burned the Torah. He nailed it." Okay, real quick. I can't go into it. I told you there's a gazillion teaching on this. But let me just show you a couple of things, okay? Let me just show you a verse. Acts 21:28. He's finished his third missionary journey, comes back to Jerusalem to tell everybody about how things went. Everything went great. And he's given them the story because they send him out. So he's coming back with a report, just like I'm doing about Israel. He says, "Men of Israel, help," they shouted. "This is the man who goes everywhere teaching everyone things against the people and against the Torah and against this place." That's the accusation. The accusation is, "We heard that you're going overseas and telling Jews that they can believe in Jesus and they don't have to do the Torah anymore." Forget about Gentiles for a minute. This was the accusation, okay? Let me give you a couple more verses. Acts 24:14. Paul is now accused, he's arrested, he's beaten, and he goes before Governor Felix, which is up in Caesarea, just a little bit up the coast from Tel Aviv, okay? He's in Caesarea and he goes before the governor, Felix. He says, this I do admit to you. I worship the God of our fathers in accordance with the way, which they call a sect. That's what it was called. I continue to believe everything that accords with... Guy, what are you going to do? You're going to show me Colossians 2, a sentence, and then you're not going to deal with this. In the letters, there's a sentence in 1 Timothy, there's a sentence in Colossians, and there's one sentence in Romans, and he was protecting the grace of God. He was saying you can't be saved by anything but the blood of Yeshua. He was protective because he was delivered from abominable things. And he understood God's grace, and he said, don't you go up to these people and tell these Gentiles, you have to be circumcised. You have to worship Shabbat. Otherwise, you're not in the kingdom. But you cannot refute that he was Torah observant, and he never taught anything different. How can you? Jesus didn't come to set you free from the Torah. He came to set you free from sin and death, Torahlessness. Look at another verse. This is before Governor Festus. You know, a lot of people read the Bible and they read the next... You know how long this is? 2 years he's in prison. Really, Rabbi? Yeah, man. Check history. Felix to Festus. Felix was pulled out. Porcius Festus was brought in. So he goes before him. When he arrived, because he went down to Judah to find out, what's the deal with this guy? Why is he in prison? What's the big to-do? And they told him, he goes against the Torah of our people. He's teaching Jews to do it. The Judeans who had come down from Jerusalem, come down, because whenever you leave Jerusalem, it's coming down from Mount Zion. They stood around him, bringing many serious charges against him, which they could not prove, of course. They couldn't prove he wasn't Torah observant. In reply, Shaul says, quote, I have committed no offense, not against the Torah, to which the Jews hold. Dude, what are you going to do with that? I'm all ears. Is he lying? Is he two-faced? You just got the wrong Paul. One more. Now he's going to Rome. They're done with him. He's got before the governor. He's got before King Agrippa. He claims he's got Roman citizenship, so they got to send him to Caesar. Caesar's in Rome. He's the emperor, right? After 3 days, Shaul called a meeting of the local Jewish leaders. Who are these guys? These are the Jews in Rome. They've got a synagogue. They're not believers in Yeshua, but he calls them. When they had gathered, he said to them, brothers, although I have done nothing against either our people or the traditions of our father, you got the wrong Paul, sweet pea. Sorry. Now I'm going to show you something that jumped out at me. It freaked me out. Okay? In this chapter, look at this. They said to him, this is what the Jewish leader said, we have not received any letters about you from Judah, and none of the brothers who have come from there has reported or said anything else bad. In other words, our Jewish friends who are visiting from Judah, who've come to Rome, haven't said anything bad about you. But we do think it would be appropriate, praise God. Hey, church, sit down with me. I'm here 15 years in this town. There's not a pastor who will call me to sit down with me. Nor will the Jewish leaders. It's the same thing. Nothing's new under the sun. The Lord showed me this and he goes, this is you. 2,000 years later, look. But we do think it would be appropriate to hear your views from you yourself. All we know is that this sect, Messianic Judaism, is that people everywhere speak against it. Hello? Why are you not freaked out? They speak against it. The Jewish world speaks against it. The Christian world speaks against it. But they don't even know what it is because they won't sit down with somebody and talk to them. They heard bad things about the way. Have any of you heard of Rabbi Eckstein, one of the more powerful Jews, international Fellowship of Christian Jews? Ministry probably brings in a couple $100 million. Maybe some of you sent money to him. Very powerful. Anybody ever heard of Jürgen Beulah, the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem? Okay. Bill Foster, my friend, walked into their offices while they were in Jerusalem, had a meeting with them, and said, my brother and best friend, Rabbi Hershberg, wants to do something for Holocaust survivors. But if you don't accept him, you don't get me. I called Bill and I said, stop. I just want to help. Don't put your reputation on the line. He goes, bull crap. I'm a man of integrity, and I'm a stand-up man. They couldn't offer me $100 million if they don't take you. And I know him a year. I ain't had nobody ever stand up for me like that. Not even a brother in the Lord. And he's a Jew who doesn't know Yeshua. So, Eckstein's calling me Monday, and Jürgen Buehler said he's in 90 countries. They have offices in 90 countries. They're one of the most powerful organizations, Christian organizations in the world. He said, in all my years being in Jerusalem, I've never seen a traditional Orthodox Jew and a Messianic rabbi get along together. This is one of the most beautiful things. You tell Rabbi Hershberg anything he needs, we're here for him. You can't write this. I'm telling you, believe me. They hate me, and everything's turning. Everything's changing before my very eyes. It's crazy. I never seen anything like it. Look at Mark 12, our New Testament reading. Let's finish up. It's getting late. You guys are probably getting hungry. One of the Torah teachers came up and heard them engaged in this discussion. Seeing that Yeshua answered them well, he was legitimate, a legitimate scribe. He heard Yeshua. He heard his heart. He heard his authority. He didn't judge what everybody was saying. Stop judging and go to the source. Don't tell me what you heard somebody say. I'm not interested. A human brain scrambles things. Quote it. Write it down and quote it to me. Don't tell me you heard from somebody who heard that they don't like. Stop it. Go to the source. Ask them for yourself. Don't ask me what's going on with this couple. Don't ask me what's going on. Go to the couple. Man up. So this guy saw that Yeshua answered them well. He asked him, which is the most important commandment of them all? Now, of course, because Jesus nailed the law to the cross, he's going to say, there are no commandments. Yeshua answered, the most important is, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. There's only one God. And you are to love that God with all of your heart, all of your soul, and with all of your understanding and all of your strength. He says, but the second is this. There's also a very important second command. You are to love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. These are the two. Every other commandment hangs on these two. Meaning every commandment you'll see, it's either loving God or loving your neighbor. It's that simple. You condense it to two commands. So, in some ways, guys, to me, this is one of life's most important questions. Basically, what the scribe was saying is, what's the point? What are we here for? What am I here for? Is it just to climb the corporate ladder and leave money for my kids so they don't have to work? Is it to just get a few trophies, accolades, a plaque? What's the point? What am I here for? And Yeshua answers them, look, verse 29 and 30. That's the answer. You're here to love God. You're here to glorify him. Can't be. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're here to glorify him. That's our reason for being. And then 12:31, we are to express our reverence for God by our respect for one another. If you want to know if you're maturing in the Lord, see how you're maturing in loving each other. And then not just those who are nice to you or those who agree with you. That's a no-brainer. I've got my church group and my small group and my Bible study group and my group. You're a groupie. Love and respect for one another, especially those less fortunate than yourself. Hit those lights again, please. Don't put up the picture yet. When we were at this meeting, and they were trying to get, it was Jack's birthday, and there were 200 Jews at Mount Sinai Synagogue and me and Berg. And they needed $250,000, and nobody was up in a nickel. And the Lord just so moved on my heart. And I leaned into Berg and I said, Beth Yeshua is going to do this thing. We're going to fit the bill. And I turned to Bill and I said, we're going to do this thing. And he was like beside himself. I don't know why. It didn't seem like a big deal to me. It really didn't. It still isn't. And then he said, can I tell Jack? I said, sure. Told Jack. We didn't tell anybody. Jack's crying. Bill's crying. Berg's crying. And I'm thinking, now I got to call the elders and they're going to start crying when I tell them what I committed to. Their crisis center was in crisis. I thought we were renovating it. Hava leans into me and says, we didn't want to tell you, but the government was shutting us down. She said, you have saved 281 girls' lives. I promise. I'm not making this up. Let me show you the pictures. This is what you did. I'm not here to convict you. I'm telling you that you're giving. And guess what? Online, they beat us out 4-1. You guys made this happen. This didn't come out of my pocket. And guess what? I need to tell you elders something. I've committed to $1 million to help Holocaust survivors. I hope you're okay with it. I met a guy, 89 years old, who's crying and saying, I watched them kill my mother when I was 9. I miss my mom. I don't have a mom. I never will. I'm going to put a bunch of them in a house. We're going to feed them. We're going to clothe them. We're going to take care of them medically. They're never going to have to spend another nickel until they pass away. Never. This is the crisis center. These kids all new, everything brand new. Their rooms beautiful, new computers, new desks. That's their garden area. Let's see the next one. That's their playground and their fitness area. It has to be gated for protection. That's their little sitting area. They can't show faces. So that's in their building. Look how beautiful their building. Look how beautiful their rooms. These are kids. Look, cover your kids' ears. They found the girl covered with excrement. Why are you covered in excrement? That's the only way my father won't touch me. They're horrific what they've seen. Horrific. And you are pulling them out of that muck and mire. You are saving their lives. Saving their lives. And God has dropped ministries in our lap that are second to none. They don't make a salary. Stephen doesn't, all we do is provide for him and his family. Samuel's still living in the same crappy house he's always lived in. When did you ever hear this? You know what the statistic is? 10% goes out. These ministries you give to, 90% stays. God has dropped these ministries in our lap that are absolutely flipping crazy. Is that the last picture? And then, he drops this disabled ministry in our hands. This is crazy. Let me show you the picture. These are all the facilities in Israel. Look, Beth Yeshua, they created a banner in this meeting with 200 religious Jews, rabbis, religious Jews at Herzog Hospital, and it says House of Jesus hanging in their hospital. Herzog, Akeem, Alin, Herzog Hospital. This isn't even, I brought you guys there, right? You guys went. And the reason why I want to share this with you, to be honest with you, 57 people on the trip, 48 I never met. So I'm getting this accolade with strangers, basically. But I love you, but I don't know you. So I wanted to share it with people I knew so you could be happy for me and happy for God. These places, these kids, you have no idea. They've never been outside, and you present these wheelchairs that are worth $7-8 grand, and the parents are kissing your fingers. It's the greatest thing that ever happened. And I won't even show you pictures of Lynn and the other places. These are kids who are blind, deaf, they're missing limbs. And we're developing wheelchairs. I just got the quote from Bill. He'll tell you, with a special iPad that Apple's making where they can communicate with their eyes. They do an hour of hugging therapy a day. An hour they hold them, an hour straight. This woman, this mother, has never had this kid outside. They can't afford this. 1/3 of Israel is living below the poverty line. It's the most expensive place in the world to live. My house is worth about $135,000. It'd be $1.5 million in Israel. And they're living on $900 a month. They're hurting more than most countries. And you guys did this. It's not me, it's us. And it's you guys. Let me tell you something crazy. You ready? We're going to keep doing this, but we connected with a group called Yad Sarah in Israel. Let me tell you quickly about Yad Sarah. They employ 6,000 volunteers. Did you hear what I said? It kills us to get 5 people to put out pine straw. 6,000 volunteers. 6,000. They have 150 on staff. They serve 350,000 clients a year. It started with a rabbi, Yuri. When he was a young rabbi, his kid needed a vaporizer. There was none, so he had to borrow it from the neighbor, and he said, this is crazy. So now they have 244,000 pieces of medical equipment that they give out for free. Are they helping just Jews? Jews, Christians, Muslims, Palestinians, and Druze. Anybody in the nation. In fact, they even help tourists with disabilities. They do geriatric dentistry. They do things for the elderly in rehab, oxygen service. You name it. You name it. And guess what? Bill met him, told him about me and him. They put in an order for 200 wheelchairs. And that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. I'm telling you, we are on the verge, potentially, of sending a very special chair all around the world if it happens. We are on the verge of doing something so big. I can't believe God is pulling this off. I just can't believe he's pulling this off. This place is so unbelievable. They've been noted by the United Nations for the work they do. The rabbi, after 30 years, still has medical equipment in his house that he lends out. Stayed humble and stayed true to the call. They have setups in Angola, all over the world. All over the world, they're modeling this. And this guy said, yes. And Bill said, he's a Messianic rabbi. And he said, does he love people? Guys, we're a Messianic congregation in Podunk, Macon, Georgia. It's amazing. And you know what's even crazier? We never asked for any money. Check the video. We spent $250,000 to change the crisis center. We spent $100,000 on wheelchairs. We're going to spend another $100,000 on wheelchairs. $1 million for Holocaust survivors. We never asked. We never said, if this ministry is a blessing to you, would you consider saying? And if you'll send in $25, I'll pray over this coffee cup. And give it this special rabbinical anointing. You know, there's an old saying, God's will, God's bill. My God reigns. I don't have to cajole. I don't have to manipulate. I don't have to tear your heart out. If the Holy Spirit can't get you to move, Greg Hershberg sure can. If you wouldn't mind, I do not want to show you this video, but I want to show you, I don't want to show you it. But Roxanne and Denise demanded that I do. So don't get the wrong idea. But if you think, please, if you think in the least bit I'm being arrogant, I'm going to sit up here, come talk to me afterward. Because I know who I am. I know. I get it. I'm a punk kid from not good stock from the Bronx. My mother was a social worker in Harlem. She sold hot dogs to put away through college. She was embarrassed to go to college because she had holes in her shoes. Her parents are so poor. And my father loaded trucks. That's what he did his whole life, and dropped dead a couple of weeks into his retirement. I don't come from any big stock. I didn't go to a fancy schmancy college. And most of the time I don't feel holy. But I'm telling you, the God I serve, I am so confident in that God. He is just spinning my head around with what he's doing. And I'll tell you, I feel like it's just the beginning. How did this happen out of this? And some of you are like, I want to find a ministry. You found one. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. What do you want to do? Put together a 501c and then get a card and not work and get money to not do anything? Is that the ministry you want? We're in ministry, Rabbi. What do? You could do at night. You found one. If these projects go through, I can't wait to meet the people at Yad Sarah. They just put in an order right away. We need 200 custom wheelchairs. Called Hope Haven, got them on it. They're putting it together. Who in such a short time? And this is the crazy part. If we could connect with people all over the world, and that's what we're shooting for, I can't tell you more than that, but we met with a couple of folks. This guy from the Christian Embassy, he has 90 offices in 90 countries. They're already there. They might have logistics, so we can get these things in the countries, go through customs, and get to the people who are in need. Otherwise, you can't do it, no matter how much money you have. You just can't do it. Bill and I sat down in 6 months. We were able to have 200 wheelchairs go into Israel, delivered to the place in 6 months. God is doing, and let me tell you something about this guy, Bill. Oh my. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. The way he's stuck up for me, the way he does not tolerate, and these are his peeps, any disrespect and any disregard for us. It's unbelievable. So I just want to show you a little clip of him speaking. Very unassuming guy, very unassuming, right? Humble like nobody's business, just like Hava. But let me just show you a little clip. Hopefully you can see it.
Thank you all for coming. We're going over and we're going to have a special dedication in honor of Rabbi Greg, who loves Neve Michael and we love him. I cannot imagine what we would be like without him. I can imagine what we're going to continue to be like with him. So,
So anyway, just a personal story. 40 some odd years ago, I was on a plane ride with friends of mine to go to Acapulco for a vacation. My friend was an ex-Marine, 6'2", big, muscular guy, and we're sitting in the first class cabin. He comes running over to me. He says, "Do you know who's on the plane?" I said, "Who?" He says, "Dr. Billy Graham." I said, "Okay, Dr. Billy Graham." At my age, all I cared about was business and other things that young guys and young couples think about. So he says, "Oh, we were a big shot." I said, "No." He said, "I'll bet you $100 you won't talk to him." Well, you can't bet me $100, I can tell you that. So I said, "Okay, David, $100. So we're sitting there. Dr. Graham comes walking down the aisle to go to the lavatory. And on the way back, I said, "Dr. Graham." And I stuck my hand out. I'm Bill Forster, and my wife was sitting on the aisle. And he started chatting to where my wife got up and went to sit in his seat next to his wife. And for 2.5 hours, I had a one-on-one with Dr. Billy Graham. And I left with this. It still didn't register to me. I was too young and stupid, not enough years of experience, hadn't found religion, hadn't found anything that got to my heart and soul, materialistic as any young family would be raising kids. But I remember looking in his eyes, and he was different. He wasn't like you, and he wasn't like me. He was an entirely different person. And it has been a lasting impression. He just recently died, as you know. And here we're coming in the story with Greg. He mentioned the fact that he wouldn't take my phone calls. He didn't. If you know Denise, his assistant, I called a half a dozen times. I need to meet Rabbi Greg. Well, Bill, he's not going to talk to you. You know, he's busy. I said, look, I'll come to Macon. He said, no. I tell you what, you live in Florida. There's a conference in Orlando, the Messianic Regional Conference. If you'll go there, I'll get Rabbi Greg to spend 10 minutes with you. 10 minutes. She was very emphatic about the 10 minutes. Okay? So I said, okay. I signed up for the conference. I grabbed my tallis. I got my yarmulke, got in my car, and I drove to the conference. I went to Shabbat morning service. Denise takes me out the front door. Here comes Greg. And as he's walking, he said, come on, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet. You can sit with me for the 10 minutes. Okay? So I follow him to the table. The waitress comes over. He orders. He doesn't ask me what I want because I'm only going to be there for 10 minutes. So he doesn't care whether I'm eating or not. Well, 3.5 hours later, we left talking. And I saw in him what I saw in Dr. Billy Graham, some unusual, amazing human being. And now I was old enough to recognize it. And how lucky I was to have two occasions in my life to meet super special people. And we became instant friends from that day forward. We've only known each other for less than a year and a half. We've only been in the presence of each other 3 times, I think, 2 times. Jack, we talked about Jack, his birthday. Greg was going to come to Jack's birthday party. So he's talking to me, he said, I'm going to come. I've never met Jack. I've talked to him for 15 years and never met him. He says, find me in an inexpensive hotel. Bernadette and I are going to come. I said, I don't know about inexpensive, but I'm going to get you a hotel. He hadn't been on vacation. He told me he worked so hard. And I believe he hasn't been on vacation. I'll take care of it. So I hooked him up at a nice hotel. Marcy, my wife, and I went to pick him up. We chatted for 30, 40 minutes on the way to the synagogue where the event was being held. And we're talking like guys who've known each other for 30 years. And he begins to tell me his heart about Neve Michel and how much he loves this place and what it means to him every time he comes here. And he's been very generous at the synagogue and all you members and everybody on his that watches videos and sermons. Everybody's been just amazing. And I'm just floored by it. I've never seen that. All the organizations I've worked with, I've never seen contributions coming in from all over the world when you don't know the people. You know, you haven't asked them for anything. You don't know them. And so in the car, he says, you know, this is a very special time. It's Jack's 100th birthday, and I love Neve Michel. And Bernadette and I talked. We'd like to do something special for Neve Michel. I said, great. You know, I'm newly on the board, you know, because Jack recruited me. And so I said, fine. He says, what do you need? And I told him what we needed. And they didn't say anything. We get to the synagogue. Before we get out of the car, Rabbi Greg says to me, we'd like to make that donation. I mean, my wife and I were like flabbergasted. We live in a very affluent town in Florida called Boca Raton, Florida. So anybody know Boca Raton, Florida? You know, sorry, that's where I lived. We moved to Boynton Beach. It's a wannabe Boca Raton now, so we can't seem to get away from it. So we've seen a lot in Boca Raton. And I was president of my synagogue in Boca Raton. We raised millions and millions of dollars. I've never seen someone give a gift without any preconditions. This man didn't ask for a thing. Just said, this is what I want to do. My heart says, this is what I want to do. I mean, just imagine that. Can you really? You can't write this in a book. You know? You can't make it up. And we walked in on the way in. I said to Greg, you've never met Jack. Jack's never met you. Can I tell him the gift? And he thought for a minute. He says, yeah, go ahead. So I brought him in. I had the pleasure of introducing these two guys who've been communicating for 15 years. I'm the one who introduces them. And I whisper in Jack's ear what Greg did. He cried, I cried, Jack cried, my wife cried, Bernadette cried. Everybody's crying. And that's how it came to be. And so the money that Rabbi donated, the buildings that were to be renovated were done properly, documented, so everything was, I call, kosher. And I said to Rabbi Greg, look at the buildings here. We have names on buildings. What do you want? You name whatever you want. He said, I don't want anything. Nothing. Still don't want anything. I said, Greg, you're my brother. I can't allow that to happen. I can't allow that to happen. You don't want it. I want it for you. You deserve it. I want you to be recognized. You're an exceptional human being. You're doing exceptional work not only here, but all over the world. I'm going to take care of this. He said, look, do what you want. So I had hired a graphic artist and designed this wall of angels and said to Hava, my wife and I will pay for creating it, but we need a wall of angels. Knew Jack eventually was going to die. So and how does he get some recognition? 30 years, he's got names not anywhere. You don't see Jack's name anywhere in his campus. So he too needed to be recognized. So I said, we'll have a wall of angels and a wall of guardians. Angels have left us, the guardians are still with us. So we designed this wall. You are here today on the opening ceremony of this wall. You are here today on another momentous occasion, and that is on April the 20th, which is the day Jack's birthday. If I said it right? Yeah, April 20th. Neve Michael is going to celebrate his birthday every year. We created a marketing program, a legacy program, to honor Jack for everything he did. And we're building a new home, and so we decided to name the home that Jack built. And my person who works on my staff created this poem, which you can read. If I read it, I'd be crying halfway through it. You'd never understand it, but it's a beautiful poem. And then we made a plaque for Jack in Jack's honor. He died on March the 12th. He almost lived to be 101 years old. The day before he died, he approved the plaque I designed. He approved it. His daughter had to take the magnifying glass out and do it. He approved it. So take the time to read that, but I want to talk to you about, you're here with the special person you and I both know, and that's Rabbi Hershberg. And how do you write a plaque? How do you put something on a plaque for a man that does what he does, unselfishly, with a full heart, and wants nothing back in return? How do you find the words and the short little thing to do? So this is what was created. A man passionate about his many missions, but none more important to him than his belief that all children deserve to be loved. As a world without children is a world without hope. He said that to me. Okay? His energy and commitment to protect and care for children is limitless and fills his heart and soul. You know him, it fills his heart and soul. From his first visit in 2003, every time Rabbi Greg returns to Neve Michael, you see his tears of joy and feel his unconditional love for our children. These are our children. These are children that didn't have a family. They have a family here. Rabbi Greg continues to bless Neve Michael. You're a living witness of that. You're a blessing. He brought you as a blessing to Neve Michael and encourages everyone that he meets to do the same. So this is our tribute to our friend and guardian and my friend. So thank you for being here.
Let me tell you real briefly about the 10 minutes. Let me tell you why, because I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because misunderstanding leads to all kinds of evil. He was newly appointed to Neve Michael on the board. He was the chairman of the board. And when he heard my name, he said, who is this rabbi? I know all the rabbis globally. Who is he? He's a Messianic rabbi. And I heard he was going to call me. I avoided his calls because I was confident he was going to kick me out. I was confident that I gave him 10 minutes because I wanted the pain to be over quickly. I was confident he was going to sit with me and say, Rabbi Greg, I appreciate everything you've done, and I appreciate everything your congregation has done, but because you're Messianic, it's sensitive. So I'm just going to have to ask you to bow out. And what I intended to do was still send the money, but through another source. I just didn't want to leave the place. I just thought that maybe with blessing them and loving them and showing them Yeshua, they would see Yeshua. Because I don't know how else to get to my people. You can't get to them with scripture. They're brainwashed. It has to be something supernatural. So I thought maybe, just maybe, love would do it. And I felt like I was on the verge of something really big, and I just didn't want to be kicked out. So I said, fine. I was avoiding his phone calls because I knew he wouldn't kick me out without saying it to me. And now it's crazy. I mean, we're partners. We're partners. So that was the 10-minute deal. As I said, I know I can be very rough and tough, and I come off, I know, not like the sweet guy, but I'm sorry. You don't really know me. You just don't. As I said last week, nobody would have said Jesus was a nice guy, but he was forthright, and he was honest, and he was genuine, and he wouldn't manipulate anybody or jerk anybody around. He had way too much respect for people. He told them how he felt, and he spoke his heart, and he didn't make any excuses for it. And that's why people either would die for him or wanted to kill him. Guys, the Torah Parsha, the pictures, there you have it. That's the whole essence of our faith. Love God more than ourselves. Love everyone else like ourselves. God is important, and people are important. And that's what's most important. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his very countenance upon you and give you his peace. In the name of the Prince of all peace, Yeshua. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yo'er Adonai ponav elecha v'hunecha. Yisa Adonai ponav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. I love you guys. Thanks for helping out. Love you. Shabbat shalom.